So once again, good day everyone and welcome to our session. And thank you for joining us today. So my name is Lilette and I'm based in IDP Singapore, but I'm currently in the Philippines. So your host and moderator in our IELTS Masterclass workshop today. So together with me today is Ruli from Indonesia, Cho from Myanmar, and Sarah from Singapore. So if you don't mind, Ruli, would you like to welcome our guest today?
Okay, thank you, Lilith, for the chance. And I would like to say in Bahasa, so selamat datang dalam webinar IELTS hari ini. Saya akan membantu pertanyaan dalam bahasa Indonesia kalau misalkan kesulitan menggunakan bahasa Inggris. Jadi silahkan jangan ragu-ragu untuk mengajukan pertanyaan di kolom Q&A atau via chat. Dan saya akan bantu sebisa saya. Apabila ada yang tidak bisa saya jawab, nanti akan saya bantu untuk forward ke IELTS Expert dengan Miss Mei Koh hari ini. Oke, terima kasih.
Wow, that was great, Ruli. So next is Cho from Myanmar. Welcome, Cho.
Hello everyone, I'm Cho from Myanmar. ဒီနေ့အမတို့ဒီ session ထဲမှာပေါ့နော်ဒီမြန်မာနိုင်ငံကနေတက်ရောက်တဲ့ဒီ candidate တွေရှိမယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီဟာနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ပြီးလို့ရှိရင်နောက်ဆုံးမှာ Q&A question ဒီ session လေးရှိတယ်ဒီစင်တာရှိလို့ရှိရင်အမတို့တိုင်းပြီးလဲရတယ်ဒီကအကုန်လုံးကိုပြီးလို့လဲရတယ်အကုန်လုံးကအမတို့ကူပြီးတော့ question and answer session လေးမှာပေါ့နော်ဖြေချပေးပါမယ်တက်ရောက်ပြီးတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မလို့ကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ် Thank you everyone.
Thank you. And finally, representing Singapore and of course the rest of the Southeast Asia in our participants today, all the countries, of course, specifically English, of course. Sarah.
Hi everyone, thank you for connecting with us tonight. I am Sarah. I'm based from Singapore, but I'm also a Filipino. So, magandang gabi sa aking mga kababayan dyan. Salamat dahil nag-join kayo ngayon. Okay, stay safe everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. So I actually saw some messages when Ruli and Cho was introducing or welcoming everyone. Don't worry, guys. This session is in English. It's only that we are welcoming our participants from other countries as well. Yeah, so let's begin. So before I proceed further, just in case, if you have just a quick reminder that everyone are on mute. If you have any burning question, please write it in the chat box or in the Q&A section, and we will try to assist you and answer all your questions as much as possible. So basically, Sarah, Cho, Ruli, and myself will assist you on this session, and any technical questions that you may have along the way, our IELTS expert will answer those questions towards the end of the session. And please stay with us because we will have our live Q&A around maybe after 1.5 or 2 hours. And then we will also have some CD or computer delivered video tutorial at the end of the session. So those video tutorial are for those who will take the computer delivered test anytime soon, or those who are still undecided. So now, are you wondering what is this IELTS Masterclass workshop? Don't worry, guys. This session basically focuses on 4 IELTS components or 4 IELTS skills. Those are the listening, reading, writing, and speaking. From this workshop, we hope and we can guarantee that you'll get practical tips on how to enhance your English skills and avoid common mistakes. Secondly, you'll better understand the assessment criteria and how your scores will be scored. And finally, of course, you will learn from an official IELTS expert who will guide you and answer your questions. So for those who are joining us via Zoom, so on this session, feel free to leave your questions again, as I mentioned earlier, in the Q&A box or at the chat box. And if you are following along with us on Facebook Live, please share your questions in the comment section, and I will read this out to our IELTS expert at the end of the webinar. So finally, our IELTS expert today is a highly trained educator who has been teaching the English language and IELTS preparation at tertiary institutions in Singapore for the past 20 years. She has helped set up a writing center in one of the universities she's lecturing in. So without further ado, let us all welcome our IELTS expert today, Mei Koh. Over to you, Mei.
Thank you, Lilette. Thanks for that introduction. Hi, everybody. And I apologize for the lighting issue that I'm having currently, but this is the my situation right now. So I can't really fix that, but I will do my best to share with you all the information that I have about IELTS from all my experience. And I will try to answer your questions at the end of the session. So let's just get into it. And hopefully, as Lilette said, these are the few things that you can get out of it, especially knowing how you'll be scored. That will help you a lot. And obviously, since there are many people who have taken this test over the years, that we have found some common things that people make mistakes on that I'll share with you, and hopefully you will avoid that. All right. So, and remember, Lilette said that toward the end there is something that is useful to you for those of you doing the computer-based test. So please stick around for that. Also, you will have an IELTS Master Pack, which you've probably been sent a PDF of, or you have a link to it. And I might refer to this once in a while, especially to the writing criteria and the speaking criteria, which is toward the end of this booklet. So basically, in terms of preparation for IELTS, you need to improve your English every day. IELTS is not your average academic type of test. You can't really mug for it, so to speak, as we say here. You can't do last minute sort of cramming for it, because it's not about content, but this test is a proficiency test. It tests how well you can use the English language, not so much what you know about the English language. So basically, in order to do well in the test, you have to be very proficient in English. And the only way to do that is to practice and use your English every day, speak to people in English rather than in your own language or other language, right? You also need to do more than just the practice tests, obviously, but it is important that you learn a little bit about the structure of the test and the parts of the test and so on, so that you have a bit of a heads up when you go into the test. So even if your proficiency is excellent and you don't really want, learn much about the test before you go in, you would probably, have to try again. So I'll talk a little bit about how the components are assessed, and what particular language skills that the examiners look for in the different components. And obviously, any common mistakes that people have made before, we'll share with you so you don't make the same mistake. So basically, you would have decided on academic or general training. Those who are not so familiar, you need to check on this, because obviously the academic is for this people who are applying to universities all over the world. And each university has its own, and each program, in fact, degree program has its own requirement for what kind of score you need. So basically, context is important. You really need to find out why you're doing this and who are you doing this for, and do they have any particular requirement for what band score you need. So you decide that. The general training is for people who are migrating to Australia and Canada or the UK, and it is required. And so, as I said, you need to find out what level you need to achieve for that. Okay, IELTS is divided into different band scores. It's not by percentage as another test, and there is no pass or fail. Basically, these band scores describe your abilities. So they use words like limited user, modest user, competent user, good user, very good user, and expert user. Obviously, for those in the category of the 8s and the 9s, you have to be extremely sort of confident and have a really high level in terms of command of English, right? Most people who take the test probably fall somewhere along the 5 and 6s. So just be aware that, you know, any of those lower scores, I mean, there's no point attempting the test if you don't have some level of proficiency. Right, so the test for both the academic and general training are structured similarly. The listening test is 30 minutes, 4 sections, 40 questions. Reading and writing, however, although the structure is the same, the questions are different for the academic test than from the general training. But both of them, okay, so in reading, for example, both of them have 60 minutes, 3 sections, and 40 questions. For writing, it's 60 minutes, 2 tasks, 1 short and 1 long, and the same for the general training, okay? The other one is speaking. And the speaking test is 11 to 14 minutes, and it has 3 components, which I'll explain later on. But the questions for the speaking are the same for academic and general training. The total test time is about 2 hours and 44 minutes. Those of you taking paper-based, you will have 10 minutes transfer time, which we'll explain later. But for the most part, if you're doing computer-based, we're looking at about 2 hours and 44 minutes. So make sure that you are comfortable on the day itself, you have rested well the night before, and all those things, right? And bring a jacket with you when you go to do your computer-based test, because it can be cold in the air conditioning in the room. So these are things you need to watch out for. What's the difference between the computer delivered and the paper-based test? The only thing obviously is the mode in which it's delivered. Speaking is the only one which is face-to-face with a certified examiner, 1-to-1, right? The computer delivered portion of the test, obviously, is you just sit at the computer for all 3 of those components. Paper-based is all, you know, written. So the only difference really is the results availability. For computer-based, you can get it within 3 to 5 days, whereas the paper-based takes about 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks to get the results to you. Okay. The computer-based, I believe in most of the offices around that you can book any time of the week, whereas maybe paper-based may only be on certain weekends or certain days, right? Okay. Whatever it is, IELTS is a standardized test. It is, you know, the same kind of questions everywhere, and you know, marking and grading and so on are very stringently sort of controlled. So you don't have to worry about where you take the test because it's standardized that way. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the first component, which I'll talk about. And we'll start with the reading component, not the easiest component. So as I said before, reading is 60 minutes, 3 sections, 40 questions for both kinds, right? For the academic, the passages are fairly lengthy, but they are of topics of general interest or common knowledge. So it can be written in these styles: logical, argumentative, descriptive, or narrative. But all of the writing will be nonfiction, or what we call informational writing. So we're not talking about stories and poetry and that sort of thing. Okay, they are factual information kind of articles. Okay. The general, so for academic, you know, topics could be anything from science, education, travel, health, those kinds of things, just general things like that. General training, you will have topics of general interest, but the passages are shorter. Okay, they are shorter and of sort of more functional kind of language and topics. Right, so what do they test for in the reading skills? Basically, as I said, they will be testing for your ability to read, not so much what you know about the topic, but you need to use your skills of skimming, scanning, and reading for detail. The skimming obviously is to read quickly so you have a general understanding of the topic. Scanning is when you're looking for specific pieces of information that you want to know. For example, you read the test questions and you're looking for the answers. That's using scanning, when your eyes go across the page and quickly look for only the things that you want. Reading for detail, obviously, is after you've done your skimming and scanning, you go back and have a closer look at some parts and read for more detail. So in order to understand a passage well, you need to be able to do all these three things in a relatively fast timing. Okay. As it says here, passages can contain up to 2,200 to 2,750 words. So there are a number of question types that show up frequently on the IELTS test, and that includes multiple choice, which you're probably familiar with. They'll probably give you 4 or 5 choices, and they want you to pick one. Another kind of question, which is quite common in IELTS, is the identifying type of question. Can you tell if this information is true, false, or not given according to the author or according to what is written? They might also ask you to identify writer's views by saying yes, no, not given. So you have to distinguish between what is information the author is writing about and the author's opinion. There are also very common questions such as matching questions, where they give you some information and then you must match it to the correct paragraph, or they'll give you some headings and ask you which paragraph fit under which headings and so on. Or they'll give you a sentence and ask you to complete the end of the sentence with some options given to you. There's also something called sentence completion, which is a bit like close. Basically, you are provided sort of a scaffold of information, and then there are gaps, and then you fill in the words where there are gaps. That might be for a sentence, or they might give you a notes, a table, or a flow chart, or some diagram, and ask you to fill in information on that. Excuse me, or diagram labels, right? So there's quite a variety of types of questions they can ask you. Short answer questions will come up definitely, but short answer here in IELTS means sometimes 3 to 4 words at a time. Okay, does not mean a small paragraph. But you do have to check, because they will tell you how many words you can answer with, right? They'll say no more than 3 words. So you can have up to 3 words, but no more than that kind of thing. So make sure you always read how many words they want you to use for the answer. All right, let's give it a try now. So as you can see here, there is a short paragraph, not paragraph, sorry, like a brief write-up about, and we're going to use this to identify the accuracy of information. So just have a quick skim of this and make a note of the key words. Okay. So you will skim this, you'll see the word Aboriginal Australians, modern humans, genomics, popular gene structure, genetic diversity. So it has something to do with our heritage, right? Or the heritage of human beings. So let's have a look. The question asks, do the following statements agree with the information given in the passage? Is it true, false, or not given? So let's have a look here. Modern humans ventured out of Africa some 80,000 years ago. While the ancestors of Aboriginal Australians were part of this migration, recent genomic analysis reveals a rare and unexpected later development. Genomics, or the study of a population's gene structure, suggests that Aboriginal Australians arrived in a single migration to Australia at least 50,000 years ago. Despite this, however, as Aboriginal Australians adapted to different conditions in the continent over many thousands of years, a remarkable genetic diversity resulted. This means that there's a greater genetic diversity between Aboriginal people living in the east and west of Australia than there is between a much more culturally diverse race, than there is among much more culturally diverse races like the indigenous people of Siberia and North America. Right, so let's have a look. The first statement, Aboriginal Australians are descended from the inhabitants of Africa. Is that true, false, or not given? So you can type your answer in the chat. True, false, or not given. Many of you say true, some say not given, some say false. Okay, thanks for your responses, everyone. So the answer is that, drum roll, okay. True, Aboriginal Australians are descended from the inhabitants of Africa. How do we know that? Because it says here that modern humans ventured out of Africa, and modern humans include Aboriginal Australians, right? So logically speaking, this makes sense. Okay, number 2. Oh, I just gave you the answer. Ancestors of the Aborigines settled in Australia about 80,000 years ago. The answer is false, right? Because here it says 50,000 years ago. So they're kind of tricky here. They're using sort of what do you call it? Like a, how do I explain? Like a dummy answer. And it looks like the real answer, but it's slightly off by being, 80,000 instead of 50,000, right? So it's to throw you off. The third one, Aboriginal Australians are the most genetically diverse race in the world. Is that true, false, or not given? Good. Thank you for your responses, everyone. So the answer for number 3 is not given. Basically, it talks about genetic diversity between Aboriginal people living in the east and west of Australia. It doesn't say that they're the most genetically diverse. Okay, so be careful here. Just because you talk about some and much and so on, it's not the same as everyone. Okay. Correct. Those of you who put not given for this one. Okay. So that's just a sample of the kind of question you might get for that. Basically, look out for synonyms. I think that's the way to approach language learning. So, for example, the phrase settled in Australia equals arrived in a single migration to Australia. So they're very similar, right? Also, be careful of distractors. Now, professional test creators, right? They deliberately put in distractors because they know that somebody will fall for it, right? So here in this case, they use the phrase genetic diversity, kind of equating it to cultural diversity, but they're actually not the same thing. So they just make it look almost the same, and then you'll make a mistake, right? Make sure you read the questions first. So these are just some tips. Underline the key words. Note the number of words allowed in your answer. Don't worry about words you don't know. unusual words will be explained within the text. If the word isn't explained, it isn't important. Don't waste time on any one question you're having trouble with. Okay, so that's just good test taking strategy. If you're really, really stuck, you have to make the decision whether to just leave the question or not. If you waste a lot of time, it could take you away from answering other questions, which are more important. 1 mark. The good news for IELTS is 1 mark per each correct answer. You are not penalized for giving the wrong answer, right? All right, any questions about the reading? All right, so let's move on to writing. So the writing is 60 minutes and 2 tasks for, let's discuss. So task 1 for the academic is basically where they give you a piece of visual information, like a graph, a chart, a map, something that gives you information, and you're supposed to explain what is in the picture, right? That's a simple way of putting it. Task 2 is to write an argumentative essay, okay? A basic 5 argumentative essay. For the general training, your task 1 is to write a formal letter, formal or informal. You have to decide which is the best tone for the letter. You have to follow all the guidelines about writing a letter. And then task 2 is writing an argumentative essay. Now, this part 2 for general training is similar, very similar to the academic part 2, which is to write it's in essence like a mini essay on something. Okay, they will choose topics for you that are a wide range of topics. So let's look at how you'll be scored. So this hopefully will help you analyze your own errors and so on. 25%. So the structure of most of the assessment is into 4 skill sets, right? So for reading, you'll be scored 25% on task achievement and response. So did you actually fulfill what you were required to do? And right. So the other one is coherence and cohesion. So coherence and cohesion are called that because it's exactly what it says. It is, the points that you make in your organization, does it stick together? Does it hold together properly, as in cohesion? And then the coherence means, does it make sense? So you can write something that sounds very, very fantastic, but maybe doesn't make any sense or doesn't have any good stories. Also, there's something called Lexical Resource, which is basically vocabulary. If you want high scores of 7, 8s, and 9s, your lexical resource must be very, very strong so that you can use them. You know, there are a lot of people who know big words, right? Or they know important words, but they aren't able to say it when the time comes to speak. They don't speak well. So your lexical resource should be very powerful, right? Use academic words. Grammatical range and accuracy is pretty hard to, to change. Sometimes we write things in the wrong way and we do it all our lives, whether you're a native speaker or not. So all of these are equally spread in terms of the grade and the loading. So you don't want a situation where you have 2 or 3 of these which are poor score, because they will affect each other, right? For scoring. Let's look at academic writing then. So basically what they want you to do, or they want to see from you, is that you summarize in your own words information presented in a graph, table, chart, or diagram. Okay. So basically you need to turn visuals into words, right? You have to write at least 150 words in about 20 minutes for this task 1. So as you see, always read the instructions, even though some parts of them, you may have seen over and over again, but just remind yourself, you should spend basically no more than 20 minutes, because overall you have 60 minutes for the 2 writing tasks. But essentially you have to control it, because you don't want to take away time from your second task, which you have to write more than 250 words. So it's much longer than this first task. So please do not eat into your time for the second task, right? It will remind you that you have to write at least 150 words. At least means more than 150 words, right? If you write anything that's 150 words or less, then you might be penalized a complete band score or more, if you're very underlined. So they will give you a topic, and then they will say summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main feature. So you have to tell about the main features. Make comparisons where relevant. So comparisons and contrast. Essentially, when you read the data, what you want to do is be able to pull out, a description of it. Say, what is this chart doing? What is it showing? Okay. So all right, let's go. So how do you need to start with task 1? Write an introduction. Say what, where, when, right? Just to remind yourself. Highlight key figures with highlight key features with figures. What it means is if you say something has increased, something has decreased, you have to give data for that. You have to actually state the answers. And then you have to write an overview of everything after it happens. So writing an overview, what they mean here is that you have to have a main point in your writing. Even if they ask you agree, disagree, that kind of thing, you have to have one statement that encapsulates what you are writing. So here is a sample sort of answer. Sample only. I'm not saying it's a good one. The chart and graphs compare the number of Japanese who spent their holidays overseas from 1985 to 1995 with the proportion of them who visited Australia. Okay. So you see here that it establishes the what, where, when, the details that people need to understand the significance of this, writing this. So the next thing you want to do, highlight key features with figures. So once you've done the overview, you want to I'll break it up into and I tell people that you have to have at least a 3-paragraph essay for answering this question, right? You need to have paragraphing. You can't just have, one big block of writing. First of all, it's difficult for people to read that. And also you want to organize in a way that there's a good flow and people don't have to rush or anything. Okay, so excuse me. So now highlighting key features. So you could do it a number of ways. In this case, where there are 2 graphs or 2 charts, you could have one paragraph describing the trends in the first chart, and then another paragraph describing the trends in the second chart. So here's the first part. In 1985, only about 5 million Japanese traveled abroad, after which the number increased steadily. By 1990, the figure had more than doubled to 11 million. Apart from a slight drop the following year, the upward trend continued until the end of the period when numbers reached over 15 million. So you see here that as they describe the increases and decreases, there's mention about the numbers, right? 11 million, 15 million. You have to use adjectives like how much increase, how much decrease, like slight drop, doubled, increase steadily. Increase steadily, for example, means that it increased sort of in a very regular way, right? It wasn't drastic or anything. So the second body paragraph, of course, this is all written in addition to the introduction. So highlight key features with figures. Again, the same thing. You look at the second graph. While Australia was the destination for under 2% of the Japanese tourists in 1985, sorry, this percentage had risen to over 6% by 1994. The proportion grew consistently apart from a slight fall in 1990. After reaching its 1994 peak, the percentage declined marginally to 6% in 1995. So you notice here that they're describing similar things like the high points and the low points. But you see here that there's no predictions or no reactions to what's being written, right? Okay, so sorry. What is the highest score for task achievement you can get if you don't include figures to highlight the key features? The highest band score you can get is a 5. One of the criteria is there may be no data to support the description. So if you wrote a lot, but you didn't write the numbers down properly, percentages, whatever it is, numbers of people. So your overview, so should sound something like this. Overall, so you use words like overall, in conclusion, or to conclude. Despite the relatively small proportion of Japanese tourists coming to Australia, the Japanese tourist market corresponded closely with the growth in Japanese tourism overseas generally, with a trebling of both in the 10-year period. So basically, it allows you to say and compare. So if you have more than one chart or graph, you have to compare and contrast with each other. If you only have one graph, you just make sure that all the patterns of that graph are there, okay? So use words like trebling. Trebling means tripled, right? The number is tripled. What is the highest score for task achievement if you don't include an overview? The answer is 5. So you see how easy it is to get a 5 in IELTS. So if you're not already 5, that's good. But if you're higher than a 5 and you get a 5 because of these things, then obviously you need to go back to the drawing board. So band 5 says recounts detail mechanically with no clear overview. So if you said, okay, first, what was I going to say? I was going to give an example and I forgot. So have you written at least 150 words? That's pretty important because the deductions can be more than just one band score. If you are seriously, right. So you have to include an overview of your information. Okay. Prioritize the information. Support your points with figures and examples. Make effective comparisons. Use linking words to connect your points. So linking words like however, therefore, that kind of thing. Organize key points into your paragraphs. Check for mistakes in grammar or spelling. Now, common mistakes that you should not do means do not support description with figures. Trying to interpret the data. So you do not have to explain why it's gone up or why it's gone down. The thing is not to answer why, but to show that there is a change. Describe every detail of the information. So you have to include numbers, but that's not to say that if you have a graph that has lots of numbers in it, that you have to put every single detail. The more complex the graph, you need to make it readable and understood by other people. You are not writing an overview of the information. don't forget to write your overview. That's what it means. So for a process, identify all the stages of the process clearly. So sometimes they might have a question where they show you a factory that makes ice cream or something. And then they'll say, well, you know, these are the steps to making ice cream. So they order the, I don't know, the ingredients, milk, whatever. And sorry. So here's an example, a better example. How to make bricks. So it shows you everything from when they first dig out the clay, and then before delivering to the kiln, to the cutting, they have to clean it. They have to sieve the dirt and remove, you know, things that don't belong. And then it's mixed with sand and water and then put into the formation, right? So this kind of writing process, you have to use words like first and then next. So it's very chronological, right? Again, the main patterns that you see, and also using the proper words, because they've even given you the words here, okay? So this is like the process by which something is made. So here is a general sort of write-up that matches the bricks one. The diagram outlines how bricks are manufactured, from the extraction of raw clay to the delivery of finished bricks to the building industry. The process involves clearly defined steps. First, the raw clay is extracted from a quarry or by a larger digger. This clay is then refined by separating larger pieces from smaller ones using a metal grid. This refined clay is conveyed through a belt on rollers to be mixed with sand and water. The resulting mixture is molded into bricks either through extrusion, cutting, or using a brick mold. These bricks are dried in the oven for between 24 to 48 hours. They are then transferred to a kiln for firing at moderate temperature, 200 to 980 degrees Celsius, and then at a higher temperature of 870 to 1300 Celsius. After cooling for 48 to 72 hours in the cooling chamber, the finished bricks are packed and transferred for delivery. Overall, the brick making process comprises 7 steps. These steps involve different processes, namely refining and forming the raw clay, drying the clay, and then firing the bricks in the ovens. Okay. All right, so shall we move on now to writing general training? So we've been talking about writing for academic, which is writing basically a kind of report type of thing based on visual information. In the general writing component, the writing is very different. The thing that you have to write in the short question is to write a letter. Okay, it's always a letter, but the letter has different levels of formality. So you have to decide that based on your experience. So the thing says, there have been some problems with public transport in your area recently. Write a letter to the company of the public transport company. In your letter, 1, describe the problems. 2, explain how these problems are affecting the public. And 3, suggest what changes could be made. Okay. So, first of all, you state the purpose of your letter. You almost always do that. Cover all bullet points fully, maintain an appropriate tone. That's all you have to do. If it's written to a friend, then it would be sort of more informal. But if it's written to employer or to your boss, whatever it is, obviously formal. Okay, cover all bullet points. What they mean is if they give you 3 bullet points of things to explain, you have to explain each one sufficiently, right? If you just put one line or one sentence, that's not going to cut it. So Number 1, state your purpose. Dear sir or madam, I'm a resident of Newtown and I'm writing to draw your attention to recent problems with public transport in our area. Briefly, the roadworks along Hill Road have led to long delays in bus service. Furthermore, the new timetable has dramatically reduced the frequency of buses on Saturday morning. So basically it's answering all the questions, right, that are part of the response. The effect of these actions becomes very obvious during the peak hours on weekdays and the shopping hours on Saturday morning. So notice that you have to add some detail, right? There's a high level of public concern about the situation. Public transport users in Hill Road find it now takes 20 minutes more to travel than the length of the road. As well, shoppers who travel by bus on Saturday mornings to shop in Newtown find it is now not worth the trouble, leading to a drastic downturn in retail trade. So there is a very, there's kind of a bad effect for not implementing this, right? So the other component is the one about what you think, right? And give some suggestions. May I suggest that buses be rerouted along Great Eastern Road until roadworks on Hill Road are complete? I would also recommend a return to the old weekend bus timetable. I'm sure these steps would be warmly welcomed by both users of public transport and local shopkeepers. I look forward to receiving your response to my suggestions. So, what is the highest score for task achievement if you don't cover all the bullet points? So people, general training, 4, that is a very low score. So just because you had an insufficient response, that they did that. Okay, so now when we talk about maintaining appropriate tone, it's like this is obviously a formal letter because you are writing it to a public company and a CEO or somebody important in the company. So you should use very business-like tones and polite, right? Appropriate. So, dear sir, madam, I write to draw your attention to. Furthermore, there's a high level of public concern about. May I suggest? I would also recommend. So use different ways to kind of say the same thing. If you said the same thing all the time, it'd be pretty boring, right? So here is a Band 5 script, and I believe that might be in your handout, so you can read that. Because, yeah, it's harder to read on screen. So here's a question, another question. So it says, spend 20 minutes on this task. An overseas friend wants to visit your country on holiday. Write a letter to your friend. In your letter, recommend the best time of day to visit and why. Describe the types of accommodation your friend would choose. Say what you would like to show your friend in your country. Okay. You don't have to write any addresses. You just write dear so-and-so and you can make up the name if you wish. So what you write here in the letter could be a real experience that you had, or it can be something that you just put together, right? Dear Andrew, I was pleased to hear you're going to visit Brisbane, so I'm writing to give you some information to think about before you come. Most people travel to Brisbane in the summer months, but I think it's uncomfortably hot at that time of year. Autumn is the best season. Between April and June, it's still sunny, but much cooler than summer. At the moment, our bedrooms are full. Unfortunately, we can't put you up. However, there are some cheap places to stay, like Airbnbs in our suburb. You could also stay in a serviced apartment in the city center on the Gold Coast. There are lots of specialists online, so I'm sure you'll find somewhere affordable. When you get here, please let me be your tourist guide. I'll take you to the Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary, where you can feed free kangaroos and koalas. I will also drive you to the Gold Coast for a swim. To add excitement, we can visit the theme parks there. Looking forward to catching up. Best wishes, Laurel. Okay, oops. So what's our advice to you? Analyze the task to look for more than one element in any bullet point. So you have to be very careful, right? Check, because if you don't write about everything they ask you to write, then you will lose marks in this task achievement. Check for plural forms in the bullet points. Describe the problems. State the purpose of your letter in the first paragraph. Letters need photographs. Paragraphs, sorry. Yes. Politely round off and look to the future, okay? So write in a style that is suitable, formal or informal. Write your whole letter in the same style. Don't make the mistake of mixing your formality. Avoid using the same words as those given in the instructions. So that's another key thing in the IELTS. Do not copy any of the words or phrases from the question, as they will remove it from your word count. Start the letter as shown in the question, dear sir or madam, or you can make up a name, Mr., Mrs., something. Don't include your address at the start of the letter. That's not necessary. End the letter in an appropriate way. Yours faithfully, etc. All right, so here we come now to the second part, the task 2. Okay. So here's the task 2 component, task 2 of the writing component. And we're going to talk about it together as one item, because even though general training is supposed to have different questions, essentially what they require from you in terms of the task is the same. So we're going to discuss it together. Now, there are 3 main task 2 essay types. There are what we call the opinion type essays, discussion essays, multi-part questions. So depending on the task, you may need to provide general factual information, provide a solution, justify an opinion, or evaluate evidence and ideas. So in this opinion essay, you should write about the following topic. Children who are brought up in families that do not have large amounts of money are better prepared to deal with the problems of adult life than children brought up by wealthy parents. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this opinion? Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own experience or knowledge. Okay. So, notice it says here, to what extent do you agree or disagree, right? So you have to explain the degree to which you agree or disagree. Here's a sample. Oh, this one is a sample band 8, so that's a high scoring one. So you can have a look. But basically, to score highly on that, you have to be fairly know how to use sort of good collocations and so on, and not have too many errors, that kind of thing. Discussion essay will say things like, they'll give you a statement that is debatable, and then discuss both these views and give your opinion. There's something called the multi-part question essay, which is exactly what it says. It has many parts to it. So be careful when you're answering this kind of question, because it's easy to miss the components, right? So it says here, shopping is becoming more and more popular as a leisure or leisure activity. However, some people feel that this has both positive and negative effects. Okay, so you see positive, negative effects, and then you go, oh, I'm going to write about the positives and the negatives. Please finish reading the instruction, right? The instruction says, why is shopping so popular? So answer that question first. What effects does its increase in popularity have on individuals and society? Aha, the second question is almost like has 2 parts in itself. What effects does its increase in popularity have on individuals? And what effects does its increase in popularity have on society? Right? So those are So it's almost like 3 different questions. You might even have 3 separate body paragraphs, for one for each of those questions. So what's our advice for task 2? Basically, you need to allot your time properly, right? Task 2 is worth much more, twice as much as task 1. So obviously you don't want to reduce the time for your task 2, right? People make that mistake. I've seen where people have written a really nice task 1 and left task 2 completely blank because they didn't have time to complete it or even start it, right? So that's not good. So whoops. So decide on your position, express your view clearly, and provide supporting examples and evidence, okay? Organize the ideas into paragraphs, each with a clear focus. Use a range of vocabulary and grammatical structures. Analyze the task and write relevant content. So the focus here is on analyzing the task. Make sure you read the question properly, decide how many things you have to respond to in each, and then proceed to do your outline. Use a variety of linking words to connect and sequence your ideas. Do not write in note form or use headings, bullet points, or numbered lists. So they just want to see your writing, okay? They want to see how well you can put together sentences and make a paragraph. So do not write dot points or bullet points. Or like say first, second, third, you put 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Don't do that, okay? That doesn't show your fluency and coherence. Check your work carefully, know your usual mistakes, and look out for them. So if you know you have tenses, which are an issue, go back and see if you spot any errors. Okay, I'm going to show you now the speaking component. Okay. So the speaking component, as I said before, is 11 minutes to 14 minutes in 3 parts. The first part is simple, they'll ask you things about your, like show your identification card, say your name, those are standard things. Then after that, there will be a question, a follow-up question about your home, or it could be about your work or studies, right? Then you answer. Now make sure you give full answers and not just, one word or one-liners, right? Then your part 2 is about talking about a topic for up to 2 minutes. You will be given 2 minutes to talk. But before that, you'll be given 1 minute to prepare. They usually will give you some paper and a pencil. Okay? Now the key here is only the key here about part 2 is that once you are asked to start speaking, you need to start speaking immediately. Okay, don't waste time. Don't have a lag, like anything like that, right? Because those things will make it sound like you're slow, like you're speaking too slowly, or don't know what to say. Then you just talk until the time the examiner tells you to stop. It's very hard for you to monitor how long you are speaking yourself. So try not to be distracted by that, but you focus on what you want to say. The general discussion is the third part, which is linked to part 2. So whatever topic they give you for part 2, which is the 1 or the 2 minute talk, they will continue that discussion as part 3. Now the part 3 questions, now they call it a discussion because they don't want it to be question, answer, question, answer. It should be a real discussion or conversation, right? So how will you be scored? Again, 4 different areas, 25% for fluency and coherence, because obviously in speaking, that would be the most important thing. Lexical resources, vocabulary, grammatical range and accuracy, and then pronunciation, which is there's less focus on it, right? So fluency and coherence means you do not talk too slowly, you do not talk too fast. Just right. Do you make sense when you speak? Right? Are you speaking at a good pace? A lexical resource, are you using good idioms and phrases and collocations rather than just one word things, right? So that's under lexical resource. Grammatical range and accuracy is always the most difficult one to change, especially in speech, because sometimes we just use the wrong way pronunciation for years and years, and then later on we can't stop ourselves, right? So pronunciation is 25%. You do need to be aware of things like speaking very fast, like whether, really quickly, maybe you're nervous or something, but it will affect your pronunciation scoring. Okay, so try not to do that. If it's a pacing problem, like you're going really slowly and going, oh, I don't know what to say, that might come under fluency and coherence, but you will be deducted for marks. Okay, let's have a listen to Alexandra here from Colombia. She's a band 7. So if you want to follow along with the band criteria, you can look in the back of your pack, your PDF pack, at the end where it says speaking, IELTS speaking band scores, right? So you can look at that to see why you think she got a 7 and not an 8 or not a 6. So try to identify some of the features that okay.
So we've been talking about a well-known person.
Is the sound okay for everybody? No problem? Sorry. Let's see.
Yes, May, all good.
Oh, yes, okay, good. Okay. All right, here we go.
That you like or admire. And I'd like to discuss with you 1 or 2 more general questions related to this. Let's consider, first of all, being in the public eye. Yeah. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of being famous?
The advantages are that first, that you will get really rich, and the fame actually it helps you because you don't have to pay for a lot of stuff. They will give you free dresses and free stays in the hotels, free meals, free everything. So actually you're saving money plus the money that you're earning. And the disadvantages are that being in the public eye, you lose your privacy. You will always be in the eye of the paparazzi and people. And if someone recognizes you, they will take a picture of you. And that's the end of the relaxed evening. So I think that it will be a really big disadvantage.
Do you think if a celebrity accepts those endorsements, do you think they lose their honesty?
I don't think that they will lose their honesty, but maybe it will change them. They will have to accept the environment that they are living into right now. So if they get famous and they're not selling their soul to the devil, I don't think that they are that bad. I think that it's just human, and if they like it, well, better for them.
Can you talk about how the media reports on famous people in your country?
The reports of the media in my country, they are like half serious news and half entertainment. So the reports are often, but not that often. They don't have like big news if Shakira gets married or not. It's like a small news, but it gets bigger with the people, not with the media, because people start talking about the news, not the media makes it big.
Do you think more time should be spent on current events and political news?
I think so, but I think that we also need a rest from the serious stuff, and we also need entertainment. So it will be a balance, because only bad news is not good for anybody. So I think that half and half will be better.
Why do ordinary people find the lives of celebrities so interesting?
I think because if they see somebody that's successful and rich failed or getting dumped or in jail, I think that we feel better about ourselves because we think, okay, we might not be rich, but we are better than them. So I think that's why we like it so much to see that kind of news.
So you think most people want to see that celebrity fail?
Maybe, or maybe depends. If you don't like anybody, you will like them fail. But if you really support one person, you will like them to be like really successful.
Let's talk about celebrity culture. How does the media use famous people in advertising?
In a lot of ways, because if people follows one person, for example, Justin Bieber right now in the Super Bowl, the media will use it and publicists will use him as long as it takes, because if he's famous, the money return will be really high.
Do you think people want to buy a product because the celebrity endorses them?
It depends of the target, but if it's a smart target, it won't be happen like this. But if it's like a child or teenagers, they will follow anything if their leaders does it.
You mentioned Justin Bieber. Are there any negative effects of young people becoming famous?
Maybe not for the people that follows the famous people, but I think that it will be really bad for that poor guy. It's being famous at that young age, you don't know what is good and what is bad, and they will always turn bad.
Thank you very much. This is the end of the speaking test.
All right, so let's have a look at why see here why she got a 7. Okay, so these are the comments received from the examiner. Fluency and coherence, she was quite fluent. She had extended and appropriate answers. So in order to get 7 and above, your responses have to be appropriate and extended in the sense that she could give more details, right? He didn't have to try and, well, first of all, the first 2 parts, the examiner is not going to ask you any questions to make you say more. You have to basically give more details on your own. Okay, nobody's going to be sort of prodding you for the answers. So she has to answer readily. So they say she's quite fluent. There should be no hesitancy in terms of responding. Like there shouldn't be a long pause before the answer is given, that kind of thing. There should not be slow speech like, like you're trying to buy time and, you know, that kind of thing. That's not good, okay? Good range of markers, like first, actually, I think so, for example, in a lot of ways. She did have some hesitation, but they were mostly, she was mostly trying to clarify things, right? She wasn't hesitating because she didn't know what to say or didn't have the words. So that's a different thing. If you don't have anything to say because you can't think of the word, then that's not fluency. Lexical resource is her main strength. It was quite a wide range of vocabulary. She was using common idiomatic and colloquial language. So in the speaking here, although, you know, you should still be sort of a little formal because you shouldn't be casual, but you can use idiomatic phrases. So she used phrases like lose your privacy, selling your soul to the devil, getting dumped. So that shows that she has quite a good command of English. Grammatical range and accuracy, she had some, but very few errors, okay? Her sentences were generally error-free, but there were some problems with articles, prepositions, subject-verb agreement, and some verb tenses. But it did not prevent the examiner and us from understanding what she was trying to say. Pronunciation, very clear, easy to follow. Her stress and intonation were used well. She did, you know, have some minor mispronunciations like jung for young or something like that. But these things are okay, provided you are clear and people can understand you. How do you improve your English? For speaking, listen, read, and think in English before the test. Talk at a steady rate, not too fast, not too slow. Okay, too fast means that your accent, maybe your mother tongue is affecting how you say English, speak English. Too slow means like maybe you're trying to buy time for yourself. You don't really know what the word are, so you're just kind of stalling. Use the preparation minute to make notes. So in the part 2, where they want you to talk about a topic for 2 minutes, they will give you 1 minute to write notes. The 1 minute goes by very fast, so make sure you use it well. Use natural fillers such as, let me think. Do not say things like, how do you say that? Or I don't understand that. And do not repeatedly ask the examiner to repeat the question. Don't sound flat. Don't do use stress and intonation. Don't worry about a grammar mistake, just move on. So the key to fluency is you make a mistake, just rush by it, forget about it, right? There's no point stopping and then rehashing what you did, because that's going to prevent you from moving on and speaking more. Give more details about each of the points you make. Explain your answers by giving reasons for what you say. So that will help you fill up the time if you find it hard. Okay, first description, then reasons or examples. Weigh up both sides of a question in part 3 and give examples to support them. So part 3 is far more academic in that way, that you have to think of it as a debate type of discussion. So for whatever claims that you make in part 3, you have to back it up. Rehearse, work, and study where you live questions, but sound natural. So if people ask you to describe where you live now, can you do that, right? You should try to do that, right? Practice right now describing the room that you live in, the house that you live in, the building that you live in. That way you have more ready to give an answer when they give your, also what is in your neighborhood. Describe, go and have a look at your neighborhood. See if there's something interesting around that you can describe. Give your opinion with, in my view, as far as I'm concerned, or generally speaking, I'd say. Practice typical IELTS topics such as education, health, fitness, travel, transport, leisure, communication, things like that. And to tell you the truth, there is no way to predict what topic is going to come for any of these. So let's move on now to the listening component. So let's have a look at the listening now. All right, the listening component. So if there are no questions about the speaking, let's look at the listening, or you can keep your questions to the end. Then we can spend more time with the discussion. Okay. Listening is 30 minutes, 4 sections, 40 questions. Okay. You will hear the recording only once. So yeah, unlike most types of academic tests, like usually you get to hear it 2 times, but in IELTS you only get to hear it once. One is a conversation. So there are 4 sections. The first section is a conversation in an everyday social situation. Okay. The second one is a talk in an everyday situation, right? And the third one is a conversation in an educational or training setting. So maybe a discussion between a lecturer and 2 students. Number 4 could be a lecture or talk on a topic of general or educational interest. So it could be like a university lecture. The one conversation in everyday social situation could be, people in a store, someone who needs help, or at a clinic or something like that. All right. We have an example for you to try. So you can get a piece of paper and a pencil out and try this, make the notes on your own. This might be in that PDF that you have. So it's in there somewhere in the masterclass pack, if you want to open to it. But basically there's an example here we're only doing 1 to 8. The recording might say 1 to 10, but we're only doing 1 to 8. So when you're ready, I will turn on the recording. Okay. If you don't have the sheet in front of you, you can just look here. Okay. The numbers, and then write the answers down and then follow along on your own. Okay. So before we start, you can look at this and go, okay, what is this? This is a theater Royal Plymouth. So it's a theater of some kind, where movie theater or what concert theater, I don't know, but booking form. So obviously somebody has to take down details about the person who wants to purchase the tickets. Booking form means booking the tickets, right? Of course, we do a lot of that online now, but never mind. This one is a phone booking. So who's going to be speaking? Obviously, someone buying the tickets and someone selling the tickets, right? So all this is important for you to get your mindset for what's to come, right? So have that image of two people speaking, maybe at the theater or whatever, okay? Or on the phone. Okay, here we go.
Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hello, Theatre Royal Plymouth?
Oh, hello. I'd like to make a booking, please.
Yes. What is it you want to see?
The Imposter.
Right. And which day did you want to come?
Friday the 25th.
Just a moment and I'll check availability on the computer. Oh, sorry, we're fully booked for that performance.
Oh dear. What about the following day then?
The 26th? Yes, that's okay. We've got 2 performances on that day. One at 3:30 and one at 7. Which would you prefer?
Oh, the later one, please.
How many people?
Well, there are 4 of us.
Are there any concessions? Any children?
Oh, I'm not sure. My daughters are 15 and 12. Do they get concessions?
Only the 12-year-old, I'm afraid. So that's 1 child and 3 adults. Any idea where you'd like to sit? Stalls or circle? Tickets for the stalls are a bit more expensive. £12 for adults and £8.50 for children. The circle costs £10.50 and £6.50.
Do you get a good view from the circle?
Oh, yes. And in fact, we've got some seats left at the front, if you'd like those.
Right. We'll go for those then.
Right. That's seats A21 to 24 then. They're very good seats.
That sounds fine.
So let's see. That comes to £38 altogether for the tickets. How do you want to collect them? Shall I put them in the post? They'd be sent today by first-class mail, and there'd be an additional charge of £1 to cover postage and administration. Or do you want to get them from the box office yourself?
Oh, yes. Could you send them, please?
No problem. That'll be £39 altogether.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Could I just take your card details? What kind of card is it? Visa? Switch?
MasterCard.
Okay. And the number?
It's 3290 5876 4401 2899.
2899. Okay. And the name on the card, please.
It's Mr. J. Whitten. WHITTON.
N for never or M for mother?
N for never.
Thank you. And now I've nearly finished, but I just need your address and postcode.
Yes, it's 42 South Street,
Okay. Is that Plymouth?
London.
And the postcode?
It's SW2 5GE.
That's fine then. The ticket should be with you tomorrow. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Yes, I was wondering if I could get regular information about what's on.
Certainly. I can just add your name to our mailing list. Would that be okay?
That would be very good. Yes, please. Oh, and there is something else, sorry. One of our group is hard of hearing, and I've heard that you can supply special headphones.
That's right. As long as you tell us in advance, we can always do that. I'll book those for you now, and you can just collect them from the box office before the show.
Thanks very much for your help.
No problem. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. Bye.
That is the end of section 1.
Okay,
Now
so
we shall begin. You should answer the question.
so you can check your answers here. So for the first one, the date, Saturday, should be written the 26th. The time should be written either 7:00 or 1900 hours or 7 p.m. Seats in the circle, right? Circles. So those of you who've been to theater, you know what the circle seats are. They're good seats. Row numbers, A, capital or small letter, 21 to 24. Type, MasterCard, number, Mr. J. Witten, Whitton, and then the word headphones. Remember, it says here that you can only write one word and or a number for each answer. Okay. And also don't forget that anything that is a company name, person's name, a name of a place has to have a capital letter in the front. If you don't have a capital letter where there should be one, you will not get a mark for that. Okay. Somebody asked, oh, can I write something called special headphones? One word and or a number. So if you wrote any other words, if you said headphones, something headphones, pair of headphones, something, then that would be incorrect. You would not get any score for that. Okay, you score 0 for that. You can write in all caps if you wish. So if it says one word and or number, you can have the word and then like 4, 3, whatever, but it cannot exceed what is written there. That's essential. Use the time to read the questions and see the topics. Underline the key words to help you focus on the question. Think of synonyms to help you predict likely content. So yeah, think of different ways to say the same thing. Questions follow the recording order, so just keep going. Okay. Stick to the word limit. Don't copy across extra words. Intonation helps. The key is to be very focused and follow what the recording is saying. Do not get distracted by your own thoughts or by sounds or even going back and trying to fix an error that you made or something. Just keep going with the recording. Okay. Because you can't go backwards, right? So, all right. So again, the key is make use of every opportunity to learn English. Set targets for your preparation. Choose academic or general training. Know how you'll be scored. And remember that, IELTS prep only teach you the test component, but it doesn't improve your English. It doesn't help you improve your English, okay? Basically, an IELTS 7 or higher represents thousands of hours of learning English and using English. So 7, anything above a 7 and above is considered very good. Take a long-term approach, right? Don't expect that every time you take the test, wow, I'm going to have a fantastic score, right? Just do what you need to do. Anything you do in English will help you to improve your skills, push yourself every day, everywhere. So what are the next steps? As Lilith said, there is some kind of a tutorial thing for the computer-based, which you should stick around to do. There's also IELTSessentials.com, which you can go to, and there are lots of resources there that you can access. There's also a practice IELTS online test here, which I think you need to pay some money for, but it might be worth trying just once and pay the money and be able to do that. All right, we come now to the end of the actual presentation. But we're here, I'm here to answer questions, any questions that you might have. So the moderators, maybe you can help me with this. Appreciate your questions now. Those of you who need to leave, and we can consider it officially ended now. So if you need to leave and exit the Zoom session, you can do that. The rest of you, if you're interested in the questions, then please do stay on, as you might have a question yourself. Okay. All right. So Lilith, should I pass it to you and your moderators?
Sure, Mei. Before we proceed with our live Q&A, let me just read some questions first under our Q&A box. So first one is from Ramat. The question is, which one is better to answer reading question? We read one question and skim the text, or we have to read some group of question and then just skim to find the answer?
Right. Ramat, thank you for your question. I think it's important when you are skimming, you are trying to get the main idea of the text. So it's very hard for you to read a question and then skim, read a question and skim. Skimming is meant for overall the complete text. So you have to skim the whole passage to understand the main idea. And then when you read the questions, you can use that to help you, and you might use scanning to look for the answer, not skimming. Skimming is looking over the whole text to get the general idea. Then scanning is specific answers to the questions. Okay. I hope that.
Thanks, Mei.
Welcome.
Yeah. Next question is from Arif. How we can identify between false and not given?
You have to be careful with that. Obviously, they're very close, but false just means that you can use the information in the reading to prove that that point is not true. If you look and there's nothing in there that helps you to confirm it's true or confirm that it is false, then you can say it's not given. Like basically there's no information for you to answer to determine that true or false. Okay, does that help?
Thank you. Next is from Novia. Can I have an advice on how to increase my scanning and skimming skills?
That's right. I don't think you want to do scamming here.
I hardly find the keywords for finding reading answer. Thank you.
When you say you hardly find any keywords, the issue could be your vocabulary level. That's important. Increase skimming and scanning. You need to just learn to read things quickly. So you can practice by reading online news articles. You know how we often just wake up in the morning, we want to know what's happening in the world. Just go to BBC News or CNN, whatever. Just read the English articles just to have a look at the main things in the article, like, oh, this is what's happening. Then you learn to get a little faster each time. So do that with short passages first, then extend to longer passages. We often skim just to get the main point, like the headings of the newspaper articles and stuff like that. What's the main thing that's happening this week? That kind of thing. Okay.
Thank you, Mei. So now we can proceed with our live Q&A. Can we have Jenna Bulani, please? Hi, Jenna. Please unmute your mic.
Hi, Jenna.
Yeah, hi, it's Gehenna here. It was a very, hello?
Jenna, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a very, very nice session. Thank you for that, first of all. And my question is, what is the difference between an essay and something, where you disagree and agree on it?
Sorry, can you repeat the first part of your question that you were kind of out of? We didn't hear anything, that first part.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll repeat myself. I just have a confusion in underlying the essay, which is an opinion related, and agree and disagree to an extent.
So, sorry, what was the question about agree or disagree?
Yeah, so there is a question in writing task 2 about what extent do you agree or disagree with a statement, and there is another type of a question which is an opinion related one. So what is your opinion on it?
Well, they're similar. I mean, asking your opinion, you still have to mention the opposing view, right? When you present any debate, you have to address the opposing view, but you might bring up the opposing view and discuss that and say, some people believe, blah, blah, blah. However, and then in the next paragraph, you say, well, I completely disagree with this, something like that, right? But the one that says, to what extent, that means you actually have to address that specifically. To what extent do you disagree? To what extent do you agree?
Okay, but how can we put our point? Like, is it like, how can we, maintain our position in that sort of an essay?
What do you mean maintain your position? You just have to have a point of view. Do you,
Okay.
I mean, you could say you completely agree, therefore you completely disagree. No, completely agree. Completely agree. So, no, that means that what they want you to do is discuss a little bit of both both points, but you want to defend your own point too, right?
Yeah, exactly. But discussing is
agree, but to some extent you can see like you do disagree on certain points, but most of the time you do agree with it, something like that.
Okay, right.
But do you, there's no such thing as not having an opinion or being on the fence, right? Like, you shouldn't do that. You should always have a point of view.
Right. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you, Kenna.
Okay.
Now, can we have, I'm sorry. Can we have Hanif Anshori, please? Hi, Hanif. Hi, Hanif. Please unmute your mic. I'm not sure if Hanif's still around. So let's go to, sorry, is it Virayakbot Sokhom?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So, I have a question, and it's about, can you share me some tips and tricks of how to control our emotion during the speaking test?
Controlling emotion, just don't panic, right? Stay calm. Make sure that you just focus on the task at hand, and don't let any sort of difficulties rattle you, right? If you feel a little bit overwhelmed, you just have to focus on the task at hand and don't focus on your feelings of nervousness or being afraid or panicking, right? Just stay calm and try to answer the questions that you can answer and not get into any sort of negative talk to yourself, right? You have to focus very much on and you don't have time in the test to think too much. You almost have to just quickly be doing things, like you have to write fast, you have to right, because you don't have time in the test. So does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Just have a good rest before the test too. And don't come in a rush to the test, like don't come late to the test venue, right? That's always not a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Thank you. Are you from Thailand? Okay. Anyone else?
Yes. So next one we have Min Kan Zo or Zhao. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hello, this is Mei Koh. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Honestly, I have a little bit difficult on the multiple choice and the summary and also the matching. Could you give me some advice on these three types of question for me?
It's very difficult to do that in a general way. You just need to maybe get some practice tests and do the practice tests that have some of the multiple choice and the other ones. You know that in multiple choice, there's often a distractor. There will be almost always one question that is completely wrong, and you will know. So usually that's one thing. The other thing is that they will put in a distractor, which is a question that will seem, an answer that will seem like the real answer, but actually isn't.
Yes.
So it's like a trick. So you have to look out for those kinds of points as well. And then basically by process of elimination, right? If you know for sure one is not the answer, and then the next one that you know for sure is a distractor, is not the answer as well, you've already gotten rid of 2 out of 4, like let's say in your multiple choice. You know what I mean? So
yes,
you do
I got it.
Process of elimination. So does that help a little?
Yeah,
sorry, I can't be more specific because if you want specifics, you have to go to a textbook or some kind of a practice booklet.
Yeah. I try several times, but the result is still, underscore.
Then maybe you have to look at whether you are reading in terms of understanding the reading passage. Are you really understanding the readings? Because there's no reason to get wrong answers if you understand what's happening in the passage, because IELTS is not meant to be super, super difficult. It is, if you can cope with the comprehension, basic comprehension of the passages, then answering the question shouldn't be, it's not like an IQ test where they design it to make sure you don't do well. There are tests like that who are designed to take away marks from people. Like they make it so hard because they're trying to filter out like people. They don't want everyone to get a good score, right? IELTS is not like that. Right? IELTS is just describing your abilities where it is. It doesn't try to compare you with anybody, that kind of thing. So I think you should relook then at your vocabulary and do more sort of reading practice in general, like on your own.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, what about the summary?
Well, what summary?
Like in the box, they give a summary. And also in the box given a like synonymous one, how can I choose the answer?
Synonyms, did you say?
Yeah, synonym, yeah.
Synonyms, you have to just learn from a dictionary or what we call a dictionary, what's a thesaurus, right? Read a thesaurus. For every one word, you should know 10 other words that might mean the same thing. So if you do that, you'll be good at that. Summary, I'm not sure which one you were talking about, summaries.
Actually, like giving like the paragraph in the question, and after that it would describe like the other synonym word. Like they have a multiple word in there. I should have to pick up one word for each blank.
If you want detailed information, you should take an IELTS preparation course in your neighborhood, somewhere nearby, or read more books on how to tackle the reading questions, because there are lots of resources out there. If you get yourself a Cambridge book, a book published by Cambridge that has practice tests and so on, you'll get a lot of clues from that. Yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, thank you very much for your information. Yeah, it's really helpful for me.
Okay, that's good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
All right. Next one is Muhammad Sayed Boksha. Hi, Muhammad.
Excuse me, I think you need to shut off.
Sorry.
Thank you. It was
Hi,
an
Mohammed.
excellent presentation. I got a lot of my answers in this presentation. My question remains that during a speaking test, should we use more informal words? And while in academic writing tests, should we use more formal words?
Okay, academic writing, you need to use academic type of words. So you have to remember it's like writing an essay, you know, university essay. So make sure that your words are academic phrases and things like that, okay? For speaking, the idea is not to be informal, but you can use idioms and sort of idiomatic kind of language, but doesn't mean you should be very informal with the examiner. You know what I mean? I mean, they're trying to make it like a discussion, you know, a conversation. So just keep it that way. Don't try too hard either way, right? It should just be a normal, everyday kind of conversation. But of course, if you want to show that you are a stronger candidate, you need to use better phrases and collocations. You need to show that you have a good range of vocabulary. So when you're discussing things, you're using the appropriate and specific vocabulary for that topic. Does that make sense?
Yes, I got your answer. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care.
Thank you,
You too.
Muhammad. Now let's go to Uni Swari. Hi, Uni Swari. Please unmute your mic. Hi, Uni. Okay, I think we need to proceed with the next one. How about Tet Ye Ong? Tet Ye Ong. Hello, Tet Ye Ong.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to ask if in speaking test, if the examiner asks me the question that is out of my knowledge, can I just simply answer that I have no idea about it and given reason for that?
No, you can't do that. You can't. It's better that you try to answer it than to say, I don't know anything, I'm not going to answer it. Right? Because if you don't give an answer, they can't grade you on it. So they're giving you the lowest grade.
Okay, I see. Because I have if the topic is about the wildlife question, I have no idea about it. But I can give reason for that. Because I have some kind of mental I have some kind of phobia about that. And can I answer it?
You cannot ask for a different topic if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
The examiner determines the topic. You cannot say, I don't want to answer that question. Can you give me another one? That's basically what you're asking, right?
No.
Also, if your English ability does not extend to a wide variety of knowledge on different areas, maybe you're not quite ready to take an academic test. So basically, you have to prepare. You have to improve your reading across different areas and to increase your knowledge about different topics so that you can readily, they're not asking you for deep knowledge. You're not required to give expert, information or anything, but just general things. So it could be anything, animals, agriculture, growing things, buildings, architecture, but they're not going to ask you technical stuff about it. It's just general things like, do you like the buildings in your neighborhood? What do they look like? Things like that. And you really need to be conversant in, be able to converse about different things like that, or growing a flower or plant. I mean, maybe you haven't grown one before, but you've seen other people grow it, then you can say something about it. So if you don't have actual experience, you can draw from what you see from other things that, you know, you've observed other people do. That's another way to fill in when you've got something you don't really know that much about. But what I'm trying to say is that most of the topics are pretty generic and pretty general. So almost everybody would have experience with it. Yeah, I mean, so try to expand your knowledge and your vocabulary. That's probably
okay. Thank you. And I've also another question that is in writing test 1, academic test. An overview is the necessary for every topic, right? Even in math question.
Math question?
Yes, MAP map.
Yeah, if you have a diagram that has pictures or something, or a map or a process, you still have to explain what is the overview.
Okay.
Like you have to see what's happening overall, like maybe there's change over time, maybe over a period of 10 years, you know, last time it was like this, now it looks like that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, next. Can we have, give me a second, Siti Kuzaiya. Hi, Siti.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Siti.
Yes, hi, thank you for the chance. I have a questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Yes, hello. I have question about the writing task. How our writing will be scored if we don't finish our writing assignment? I mean that if our writing don't meet the minimum required words, that task 1 it should be 150 and the task 2 should be 250. Then if we don't meet the minimum words, it could be scored or will be don't have any scores.
Be penalized by 1 band score or even 2, depending on how under length you are. So if you were close to 150 but you didn't make it, then maybe you only minus 1 band score. But if you let's say only wrote half of that in that time, then you would probably lose 2 band scores. You don't have.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Okay, thank you. It helps me. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just work on the speed of your writing. Yeah.
Yes, because I have ever taken IELTS test in previous, maybe in 2021, but I have problem when I did the writing task because I don't finish my writing task 1. Because
you have to practice. You have to practice a lot. Is it academic? The one you did, was it academic or general training? Was it a letter?
Yes, hello.
Was it a letter?
Oh, no, thank you. I've done academic test, madam.
Academic, yeah. So you have to practice more. Maybe practice under time, like time yourself. Every time when you practice, give yourself 20 minutes, no more than 20 minutes, and see whether you can meet within that time. And the key is to make an outline in your head or on the paper. Make an outline before you start. Spend the first 5 minutes, just not 5 minutes, but maybe 3 minutes, jot down some main points. What are your main points going to be? And follow the plan. If you follow the plan, it's easier to finish within the required time. If you don't make a plan, you just keep writing, you could go over time very easily. Okay?
Thank you, madam.
You're welcome.
Next, can we have Jayueli? Hi, Jayueli. Yeah.
Hi, I have a question on the academic writing task 1. Yep. So can I write my overview in the second paragraph, like right after the introduction?
You can put it in the introduction as long as it's there.
Okay, all right. So I have another question, sorry. In the speaking session, if I don't understand the question or the topic, can I require an explanation?
No, you can ask them to repeat the question, but you can't ask them to explain. You can't ask the examiner to say, so the examiner has a script to follow. They can only say what's in the script.
All right, I see.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very
they
much.
can't explain words or anything like that for you. Okay.
All right, got it.
Thank you. Next is L. Espinosa.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes, L.
Hi. I just have a question though. I just need pointers. I was doing a couple of practice exams earlier, and I came across a question that asked me, do you play any sport? At the back of my mind, though, I don't play any sport. Is it okay if I say I don't play any sport, although the last time I did play was in high school where it was graded? Is it okay to say that? And then I try to elaborate after.
So in any way that you try to bring in your experiences, that's fine, as long as you're within the topic and you are giving them an illustration of some sport that you know. I mean, or you can, like, if you really get stuck, you could even say, well, you know, there was this sport in school that I watched people do, and I would have liked to be part of that, but I never got a chance, something like that. But what you said is even better, right? You actually have some experience, just maybe not on a team or whatever. It was just maybe for a short time, right? But at least, I think the key is to describe the sport, right? That the whole thing was about describe a sport you participated in, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Not so much whether you really did it or you didn't do it, but can you describe that in great detail and with sort of make it interesting, you know, with some good vocabulary and stuff. So yeah, that's fine to use something. So sometimes you have to dig pretty deep to get something, right? Or think a bit sort of creatively. But the one thing you cannot do is ask them to change the topic or just say, oh, I don't know, and then I'm not going to answer it. Right? That's not good. So just be creative with how you answer. Yeah.
Okay, that was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Yes, I think that's all for the for the live Q&A, and we have a few more questions from our chat box. So the first one is from Tuku. Are articles A and D counted as a valid word count in writing section?
Sorry, say that again. What?
Are articles like A, and D are counted as a valid word count in writing section?
As long as it's a word count.
All right, thank you. Next is in the writing task, how many vocabulary levels should we put in the answers? That's from Sri Kurniati.
Sorry, how many
vocabulary levels should we put in the answers?
I'm not sure I understand that. Vocabulary levels, you basically have to use the highest level of vocabulary that you have. So I don't quite understand the question. Sorry, but does that answer the question?
I guess yes. Okay, next one is how to answer a list of heading question in reading session easily.
Sorry, how to
answer list of heading question in reading session easily. That's from Andy Rani.
Sorry, I'm not quite understanding that question too.
Andy, are you with us?
How to answer list of
heading question in reading.
You mean like the matching one? Like they give you a heading, then you have to match it to a paragraph? Is that?
I'm not sure of that. Hi, Andy. Would you like to elaborate your question? Hi, Andy. You can unmute your mic. Andy? I'm sorry. Yep, I think we can proceed with the next question. Give me a second. For listening session, do all answers go in order? That's from CT.
Sorry, the listening
session?
Session?
Yeah. Do all answers go in order?
Technically, it's supposed to go in order. So that's why we said you have to focus, be very focused, because you don't have time to go backwards and forwards in the test because they only play the recording once. So if you miss something and you're not following the recording, then when the recording moves forward and you're looking backward, there's no chance for you to catch up anymore, right? So if you get distracted by a mistake you made and then the recording moves ahead and you don't follow it, then that's it. The rest of the test is done for. So sorry to be blunt about that, but that's what happens if you don't follow the listening, because they only play it once. Okay, so don't go backwards, don't go forwards, just stick with wherever the listening is. Okay.
That's right. Thank you, Mei. And then next one is from Haikal Hassan. I think this question is when you play the listening sample earlier. So the question is, what if I miss one of the words? For example, the 26, but I miss the.
I think the was optional. So 26th would have been fine as well, the answer. But yeah, I mean, you never know with these things, right? But the would have been correct, or just 26 would have been correct.
Yep. And I think this will be the last question for the night from Novita. It is quite challenging when we are unfamiliar with the topics. Is there any tips about it? Thank you.
Right. So familiarity with topics means you have to read more on a variety of topics. So expand your knowledge. So let's say you're not too familiar with sports or not too familiar with leisure and recreation. What do people do for their pastime? Then read up more on those things. So just try to broaden your knowledge by reading newspapers more, like a variety of topics, not just the things you like. And then listen to YouTube, look up things that are interesting, like go to popularmechanics.com or some magazine, science magazine, and read some of the things there. So just expand your knowledge on areas that you yourself might know that you don't have a lot of knowledge about. Pets, you don't own a pet. You don't know anything about pets, go learn about pets, right? Domestic animals versus farm animals or something, right? So just read up on a variety of things. If you want to be very focused, I guess you could just go to IELTS text and sort of read different things, but they're just going to give you a whole bunch of different readings anyway, so you can always go and find things out on your own. General topics, lots of general health, transport, public transport, that's always a good thing to know about. Clothing, fashion. Gentlemen, if you're not into clothing, fashion, just go find out, right? How to describe clothes that people wear. How do people use clothes creatively, or hairstyles or something, yeah? Shopping, that's always a fun topic. Shopping, travel, there are lots of things. So just go and find IELTS lists of topics and then just go look up things you don't know about. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mei, but we have one last question, I guess. Can we have a Kurt Kelvin Borsige? Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Kurt.
Yes. Hi, Kurt.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello. First of all, thank you for noticing my request. I just have one question, or rather, I just want to ask for any advice regarding on the 1 minute duration on the in part 2 speaking subtest. Can you give me some advice or tips and tricks regarding that?
Nothing much except that you do have to pay attention to what is on the booklet, like the topic. So they will have like 3 bullet points or something, and then the bullet points you have to answer those. Now the 1 minute goes by very fast, so don't expect to have a full outline of your talk, right? It's just to help you for example, if there are 3 points and you have 3 key words, right? Like you just use keywords because you're not going to be able to write sentences, right? So just like 1 word for the as an answer for the first point, one word for the second point, and one word for the third point. Then that will jog your memory as to what answer you should give for those. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really helps. It will really help me.
Don't write a full sentence, just write a key word. And then that way you are utilizing that 1 minute and you're not wasting it writing sentences, right? Like,
I see. So in summary, I should write key points or keywords rather than writing a whole sentence or a phrase. So in order to maximize the time.
That's right. And you make sure that the key points that you write are the responses to the specific questions in the
topic.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Sure. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Kurt. And I think that's all for today's session. So before we finally play our computer-delivered tutorial videos, any last final advice from you, Mei?
Not really, except that as they say in IELTS, that you have to constantly be using your English and constantly practice and expand your vocabulary. Read more and listen more to things in English, whether it's music or watching shows and stuff, because anything you can do to improve your listening comprehension and things like that will really help you. Okay. So you have targeted learning, which is practicing the test type questions, but you also have the general part of the learning, which is just to improve your English in general. Okay. So all the best to all of you who signed up already and have signed up to take the test. Hopefully you have time to practice somewhat, at least once, go through the test itself. And those of you waiting to do the practice test now, good luck. Okay. So I'll pass it back to Lynette. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a great audience. So all the best of luck for the IELTS test.
Mute. I'm so sorry, guys. I think I was on mute earlier. So again, thank you so much for staying with us for the last 2 hours. And for those who will be taking their computer-delivered IELTS very soon, or who are still undecided if you will take computer-delivered or paper-based, please stay with us. We will be playing some computer-delivered video tutorials as promised earlier. And once again, thank you so much, Mei, for answering the questions of our participants today. And also to my co-host, co-moderators from Myanmar, Cho, from Singapore, Sarah, and also Ruli from Indonesia. Thank you so much. And once again, if you have any further question that we haven't able to answer tonight, please wait for our email anytime soon. I guess within 24 to 48 hours after this session, you will receive an email from us with all some IDP IELTS IELTS online practice materials where you can access for free, and you can just simply reply or send an email to us, and we will be glad to answer all your pending questions. And for those who are taking their IELTS very soon, best wishes, and please stay safe, everyone. Thank you and good night.
Good night. All right, Lilette, I take my leave now.
Sure, Mei. I'm just playing the video now. All right. Give me a second.
How long is this video?
The video, I guess, is around 5 to 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Welcome to our Computer 1. This tutorial will show you how to complete and prepare for computer-delivered IELTS. For each section, there's a clock at the top of the screen, which tells you how much time you have left. For the reading and writing tests, the clock will turn red and flash when you have 10 and 5 minutes left. The tests will automatically stop when the time finishes. The instructions for each part are in the box at the top of the screen. You can use the navigation bar at the bottom of the screen to move from one question to the next. Click on the number to go to that question. You can also click on the forward arrow to go to the next question, or the back arrow to go to the previous question. When you have answered the question, a line will appear under that question in the navigation bar. You can click on Review if you want to look at the question again later. The question number will be shown as a circle. You can review and change your answers at any time until the end of the test. Click on the yellow arrow if you want to make the navigation bar smaller. You can use the scroll bar to see all the questions. In each of the tests, you can change the screen settings. To do this, click on the Settings tab at the top of the screen. You can change the size and colour of the text. In each of the tests, there is a Help tab. If you click on the Help tab, this will give you information about the task you are currently doing. If you click on Test Help, you will see information about how the test works. If you wish, you can also highlight sections of text. If you need to leave the test room for a few minutes, you can hide your screen by clicking on the Hide tab. When you return to the test room, click on the Resume Test button. That is the end of the introduction tutorial for computer-delivered IELTS. Check out the IDP IELTS YouTube channel for tutorial videos for listening, reading and writing. For the listening test, you can change the volume by using the volume bar in the top right at any time during the test. For each part of the listening test, you will hear the recording once only. Some parts of the test have more than one type of question. Each type of question has its own instructions. In the listening test, listen carefully for the part number and question numbers to make sure you are looking at the right screen. For some questions, you need to write your answer in the gap. For some questions, you need to choose which diagram label, A, B, C, etc., is correct for which item listed in the table. For each question, click on the correct space in the table. For some questions, you need to click on an answer and move it into the gap. If you want to change an answer, move another answer into the gap. If you want to leave the question unanswered, move the question back. And for some questions, you need to move an answer into a gap on a diagram. At the end of the listening test, you'll have 2 minutes to check all of your answers. The tests will automatically stop when the time finishes. In the reading test, the text appears on the left and the questions on the right. To see all the text and the questions, you'll need to use both scroll bars. For some questions, you need to choose an answer. If you want to change your answer, click on a new answer. If you want to leave a question unanswered, click on the answer again. To look at the next question, just click on the question itself. For some questions, you need to choose more than one answer. If you want to change any of your answers, click on the answer you want to change and then click on your new answer. If you want to leave any of the questions unanswered, click on the answer again. For some questions in the reading test, you need to choose which paragraph or section contains the information listed in the table. Remember to scroll to read all the text. For each question, click on the correct space in the table. If you want to change an answer, click on your new answer. If you want to leave the question unanswered, click on the answer again. For some questions in the reading test, you need to click on a heading for a paragraph or section and move it into the gap. If you want to change your answer, move another heading into the gap. If you want to leave the question unanswered, move the heading back. And for some questions, you need to write your answer on a gap in a diagram. If you wish, you can also highlight sections of text. To do this, left-click and drag your cursor over the section of text or question you wish to highlight. Then right-click and select the highlight option. To remove highlighting from the text, right-click on the highlighted area and select Clear. If you wish to remove all highlighting from the screen, right-click on a highlighted area and select Clear All. You can also make notes on a section of text. To do this, left-click and drag the cursor over the section of text or question you want to make notes about. Then right-click and select the Notes option. Your chosen section of text will be highlighted and a yellow notepad will appear. You can write your notes on this. Click on the cross in the notepad to hide your notes. To see your notes again, click on the highlighted section of text. If you want to see which areas of highlighted text have notes, move the cursor slowly over each area of highlighted text. If a small orange box appears, it means that the highlighted text contains notes. To remove notes from text or questions, right-click on the highlighted area and select Clear. There are two parts to the writing test, Part 1 and Part 2. You can answer the parts in either order. You write your answer in the space on the right of the screen. Your answers are saved automatically. You do not need to press Enter on your keyboard. For the reading and writing tests, The clock will turn red and flash when you have 10 and 5 minutes left.